The Lightwave 3D program, among its many unique properties, one stood out the most. That is, it comprises of two distinct programs instead of one. The modeler, responsible for handling 3D modeling, and the layout, responsible for final material checks, animation, and rendering, resulting in a somewhat distinct separation of concern. This video is not about whether this is a good or a bad thing. This video is about an interesting turning point that Lightwave is at this moment, and how this separation of concern nature of Lightwave might become its strength at this junction. Lightwave 3D was recently given a ray of hope for a better future and modernization when Andrew Bishop bought the rights to the program. The people whom I have interacted with who still uses Lightwave are all delighted by this news, and all spoke something along the line of, "Thank God Lightwave is now under the care of someone who actually loves the program." However, conversation starts swaying into how and where initial modernization work should take place. I don't use Lightwave myself. However, I am envious of people who know how to use Lightwave. I use Blender, but as a modeler, my bias is clear. All work should be done on fixing and stabilizing the modeler. However, the imposter programmer in me couldn't help but realize Lightwave have one distinct advantage in its immediate short-term path to modernization. Because the program responsible for material, preview, and rendering is a standalone entity, it is a much smaller task to rebuild layout without having to reincorporate back in existing modeling toolsets. What if we inject the power of modern game engine tech into Lightwave, such that just like Blender, it will have a real-time beautiful renderer and also the traditional realistic path tracing renderer? What you are seeing here is a proof of concept built on top of the Godot game engine, with some of the real-time bells and whistles enabled. Real-time ambient occlusion, real-time reflection, real-time tone mapping, real-time global illumination, excellent real-time anti-aliasing, good quality real-time shadows, real-time glow and bloom. Real-time volumetric fog is possible as well, but I didn't enable it here. We no longer have to settle for legacy real-time previews. We can get very close to the real thing now, and I would even risk saying that what we can have in real time today is what would have taken hours to days to render just a few years ago. And this is all available to Lightwave for the taking, if rebuilding layout on top of a free game engine with no hidden evil runtime fees becomes a possible consideration. There are disadvantages to this trajectory, of course. Lightwave layout is not just to be a real-time rendering package, but a production-grade rendering engine as well. So if Lightwave layout is to be rebuilt on top of a game engine, the actual renderer will have to be connected via extensions, which of course the Godot game engine natively support. Submit it for your speculation. This is bracercom signing off.